The Creator is a terrible film. It's a classic example of style over substance. It's a boring, unoriginal, and poorly written story, riddled with constant, and I mean constant, plot contrivances. The characters are one dimensional, it suffers from non existent world building, and has in your face political messaging, deliberately evoking Vietnam War themes. Its plot is basically Apocalypse Now meets Terminator 2, but shit. The Creator is the latest film from Gareth Edwards, who gave us Monsters, Godzilla, and most recently Rogue One, which I must admit I do like, especially compared to the rest of Disney Star Wars output. So I was kind of looking forward to this one. Unfortunately, as good as the film looks, it's basically one big, fat, steaming plot contrivance that completely ruins your investment in what's happening. Why should the audience care if the writers don't give a shit about the story making sense or believable characters? So let's start with the few positives that there are. First off, the visuals. This is how to do special effects properly. Gareth Edwards comes from a special effects background and it shows here. The effects in this blow anything Disney Marvel has released recently out of the water. The future setting and designs created for this look fantastic. My second and final positive is Ken Watanabe. He's cool as fuck, never lets you down and doesn't hear. Okay, so now the negatives. One big letdown with this film is the half-hearted world building. It starts early and only gets worse. Lots of rules and systems are introduced, but you don't get any information to flesh them out and make anything feel believable. The Creator feels like a book adaptation which has cut out a lot of critical content from the source material, so what you get on screen feels half-baked. I came away with many questions. Like, why are there old simulants? What are the practical reasons to manufacture a simulant of elderly people?
No idea.
What exactly is the political situation with New Asia?
No idea.
They have no government presence in this film, despite US soldiers being on their soil. They have large cities, but only have police and rebel fighters. You get zero information on this. How does the orbital space station Nomad work? Is it actually in orbit? It just seems to turn up wherever it's needed at any given time in the film, with near instantaneous travel. The script is shocking. It's just one plot contrivance after the other to keep the story moving. I'll go through some of the most ridiculous ones later in the plot breakdown. All the US military characters are thick as pig shit and make some downright ridiculous decisions because the writers couldn't think of a better way to make the story work. It just ruins any investment in what's happening. Things just fall into place perfectly for the main characters, with next to no issues to overcome or problem solving required. It just feels lazy. My final negative is the in-your-face political statements. The only thing the writers put any effort into was trying to make the viewer sympathise with AI and take their side as the oppressed minority to the big bad US, but it just doesn't work. They are just robots, objects made in factories, not human beings. Don't get me wrong, plenty of films have made audiences care about individual robots before. The T-800, Wall-E, Robocop, the robot from Rocky IV, I could go on. But making people choose to root for robots over humankind as a whole is next to impossible, and this fails. The cringiest, most desperate line in the film comes halfway through. The super simulant child everyone is trying to get their hands on is asked by another simulant,
"What do you want, sweetie?"
For robots to be free.
"Oh, we don't have that in the fridge."
Not only is it eye-rollingly lazy and on the nose, it doesn't make any fucking sense in the context. She's been asked what she wants from the fridge. She's not a Miss World contestant trying to win over the judges asking for world peace. Also, it's never made clear what she really knows or understands about global affairs and the war on AI anyway. She only has a few bits of dialogue in the film, and mainly is just a deer in the headlights, so I don't believe for a second she would say this or understand what it means.
A load of shit.
Right, let's get on with this mess of a plot. In 2055, AI created by the US government detonated a nuclear bomb in Los Angeles, killing 1 million people. And since then, the US has declared war on all AI to save humanity. They have developed Nomad, an orbital space station which can target and attack anywhere on Earth. AI is still legal and embraced in the fictional non-specific country New Asia. Or is it a continent? We don't know, it's never explained. 10 years after the nuke in LA, our main character Joshua Taylor is an undercover US Special Forces agent who has been tasked with locating and killing Namata, the mysterious AI architect who's leading the development of AI in New Asia. Joshua's mission and cover is blown when the US prematurely launches a raid on the camp he's staying in with his pregnant wife, believing the martyr to be there. Nomad bombs the camp, which looks awesome, but for some reason drops the bomb miles off the coast. Either way, it seemingly kills Maya, who is caught in the blast. 5 years later, and Joshua has left the military and is now part of the LA cleanup crew. He's approached by the US Army, who say they have intelligence that the martyr has developed a new weapon which would tip the balance of the war in favour of AI. Joshua isn't interested, but is shown that Maya is actually still alive, which motivates him to accept the mission. The mission is basically a disaster and results in most of the hilariously inept Special Forces team being killed or captured by the android police. At no point in the film do we see new Asian military forces. Do they have an army? No idea, it's never explained. They are apparently at war with the US, but it's only ever police and ragtag resistance fighters we see. Joshua manages to locate the weapon in the lab, who turns out to be a simulant child. A scientist helps the child escape, and Joshua also manages to get out. The morning after the battle, Joshua finds one of his team who's been injured, and along with the simulant child who is just hanging around nearby, they go to a nearby farmhouse where the simulant farmer turns up and tells the child he's going to kill the American. Luckily, there's a translation device next to them, so Joshua is able to shoot the farmer first. Afterwards, in the exact same scene, Joshua is trying to talk to the child to find out if she knows where his wife is. But now the translation needs manual input and doesn't work automatically like it just did seconds before. Drawn to the gunfire, android police surround the house. The police throw a grenade into the building, and I shit you not, it has a 10-second countdown. In what world would you give your enemies 10 seconds to either run away or throw a grenade back at you? But don't worry, it gets even more fucking stupid. A random dog has time to pick up the grenade in its mouth, run outside and drop it off next to the police, which blows them all up and saves the day. I went back and counted it. From the moment the robot throws the grenade to when it goes off is 15 seconds. If this is the intelligence of the androids, they are no threat to humanity whatsoever. After they escape, the injured soldier orders Joshua to follow through with the mission, but the nearest base is 400 miles away, so Joshua wants to go to the capital city where he has a friend who can help. Because the plot needs it, the injured soldier and the car they are travelling in both die at basically the same time. This conveniently allows the US colonel who's escaped from police custody to turn up later on and use a magic plot device machine on the dead soldier. This scans his brain and uploads it to a simulant body, and they can find out where Joshua and the child are headed.
That was easy.
A random school bus driver stops and offers to give Joshua and the child a lift. Let's just think about this. Joshua is a foreign soldier during wartime, and there are police everywhere. Why the fuck would this random dude offer to help them? But it gets better. Not only does he offer to help them, but he risks not only his life, but the life of all the children on the bus by breaking through a police checkpoint and fleeing, leading to the police to open fire on the school bus.
Come on!
Here we see the child's special abilities in force. She's able to remotely control nearby electrical devices, which helps them escape the police. Joshua names the child Alfie. They finally reach Joshua's friend Drew, who turns out to be his commanding officer from before he went undercover. Luckily for Joshua and the plot, he now runs a simulant factory and is a robotics expert, so he's able to inspect Alfie and explain that she's the most advanced simulant he's ever seen. Her powers will grow as she grows, eventually becoming unstoppable, being able to control all technology from anywhere in the world. For plot reasons, Drew, after all these years and thinking Maya was dead, kept hold of a tracking device which is linked to her wedding ring. He thought she was dead, and he even tells Joshua she's gone. Why the fuck would he still have this? Because the plot needs him to.
Yawn.
They follow the tracker which leads them to the destroyed camp from 5 years ago, and Maya is not there.
Shocking.
Simulant resistant fighters turn up out of nowhere to rescue Alfie. Drones fire down on Joshua and co, critically injuring Drew, but of course completely missing Joshua and Alfie. Literally any of these bullets could have destroyed Alfie. Drew uses his dying words to tell Joshua that Maya is actually Namata. The simulant resistance secure Alfie and capture Joshua. In captivity, the simulant leader Haroon tells Joshua the LA bombing was a human coding error and that they just want to live peacefully with mankind. A coding error.
Fuck off.
If that's the case, the AI could have easily proven this, or at least tried to. How did it happen? Who knows? We don't get any more information on this, just his passing comment, and we're supposed to take it at face value. US bad, AI good. Nomad appears in the sky. The US have tracked them down. How the hell have they found them? We don't find out. Haroon shoots at Joshua who's escaped his cage and he jumps off the boat. The simulants look in the water for him for about 3 seconds and decide to leave. Why the fuck wouldn't you just wait to make sure he's dead before leaving? You're in a boat in the middle of the water. He's got nowhere to go. Joshua grabs the underside of the boat and secretly hitches a ride. At the simulant village, despite the fact Nomad is in the sky and could just blow it up in one shot, for plot reasons the Americans send in ground troops. Tanks magically appear from the bushes without making any noise until just before you can see them. Where the fuck did they come from? Is there a base nearby? Are we supposed to believe the AI simulant resistance set up their camp within close range of a US military base?
Come on!
During the battle we get our second case of Animal Ex Machina. An android arms a bomb and sticks it to the side of a tank. The android is blown up before he can detonate, but a fucking monkey comes out of nowhere, picks up the detonator and triggers it, blowing up the tank.
Fuck off, pal! You can fuck right off!
If there are any aspiring writers out there watching this, and you can't think of how to move your story forward, why not just have a random animal appear and do whatever is required for you, twice? The US send in these cool little barrel-shaped bombs that have arms and legs to run at the resistance fighters and blow them up. One is running down the bridge and Alfie appears out of nowhere. The bomb robot stops in front of her, allowing her to use her special powers to deactivate the countdown. The way her abilities work isn't ever explained. Sometimes she needs to touch things to control them, and sometimes she can do it remotely. In this case she does both. It just depends what the plot needs at any given time. At this point, with Alfie exposed on the bridge, the US realise and decide, rather than directing all the troops to take it out, they just send one soldier. That's right, the weapon which can swing the balance of the war, the thing the US believe is the greatest threat to humanity, the reason for this battle, and they just send one soldier.
It's genius.
The soldier manages to shoot Alfie but is killed by Joshua. Because Alfie is injured, the bomb bot she stopped resumes its countdown, but for plot reasons not its movement, which allows Joshua and Alfie to escape. Why the fuck would only the countdown resume?
That was easy.
Haroon, Joshua, Alfie and a few others escape the battle. They go to a remote mountain temple when the martyr, aka Maya, has been in a coma since the bomb at the beach 5 years ago. After emotional scenes in the temple, Joshua agrees to turn off Maya's life support as the simulants were programmed not to be able to hurt the martyr, so they couldn't do it. You'll never guess what. Nomad appears in the sky. The US have tracked them down again and conducted an assault on the village. Colonel Howell appears in the temple and pulls out another trusty mind scanner to download Maya's brain. When Haroon tries to intervene, 2 soldiers appear behind him, and despite the fact the US are at war with AI and don't view simulants as people, they don't shoot him instantly, giving him the chance to shoot a sticky bomb at the colonel. Alfie pauses the bomb before it can go off, but when the soldiers aim at Alfie, Joshua pushes her out of the way and then the bomb goes off, killing the colonel and the soldiers. US bad, AI good. Joshua and Alfie are stopped by soldiers before they can escape and taken back to the US. At the base, the general tells Joshua they tried to terminate the weapon cleanly, but she won't let them. So he's asking Joshua to help them do it as Alfie trusts him. Otherwise, their methods will be unimaginably painful. So we see Joshua have his final moment with Alfie and use an EMP to terminate her. And we see him whisper something to her just before he does it. And here we are, the biggest plot contrivance in the film. The US military are in possession of the greatest threat to humanity. A weapon which they recognise purely as an object, and for some reason insistent on terminating it in a humane, pain-free way, and allow the person who was protecting it to go into the room to do it, thus giving them an opportunity to escape.
That was easy.
The general even says in the very next scene that normally they would do research on the simulant, but this time they're just going to incinerate it. So they're just going to fucking destroy it anyway. What was the fucking point in terminating it like that? Just blow it straight up. They didn't even need to bring it back to the US. It makes no fucking sense. No one in real life is this thick. This sloppy mess of a plot carries on. They transport the now believed to be terminated weapon in the back of an ambulance to be incinerated. What the fuck? Just do it at the base you were just at. And why are they transporting this weapon around in an ambulance? Even if they did treat AI like people, they think it's dead. And why the fuck have they let Joshua go along for the ride in the same ambulance? He has literally no reason to be there. It's fucking stupid. And would you believe it? They managed to escape the ambulance on the highway, right next to a spaceport, and effortlessly get through security and board a ship headed for the moon.
That was easy.
Alfie uses her abilities to take over the ship and head instead to Nomad, which happens to be preparing for a worldwide strike on all AI bases. If they already knew about the AI base locations, why the fuck didn't they already blow them up? Why wait until this moment? On board Nomad, they split up and with little to no resistance managed to power down the station and stop most of the missiles launching. And then for some reason there are simulant bodies randomly bagged up on the US flagship anti-AI mobile weapon.
Of course there are!
Alfie quickly finds one that looks like Maya.
That was easy.
And uploads her brain scan memory card they took from the temple. But it doesn't seem to work, so she just leaves to find Joshua. Joshua plants a bomb to blow up the station. On the ground, the general gives the order to have them killed and activates a Sentinel-style robot to kill them. Why the fuck did they wait until now to activate this weapon? The Sentinel is given one program to kill, and when it grabs Joshua, it just dangles him in the air for a few seconds, luckily long enough for Alfie to use her powers to turn it off.
Very convenient.
Joshua isn't able to escape, but makes sure Alfie is on the escape pod before the bomb goes off, and this stops any more of the missiles detonating. Even though the explosion on Nomad is huge and destroys a large section of it instantly, Joshua has enough time for an emotional goodbye with Alfie, and even has time to wander around aimlessly and bump into the simulant Maya, who happens to have stayed where Alfie left the body. They run towards each other and hug, as the rest of the ship crashes into Earth. Alfie's escape pod conveniently lands in New Asia, right next to where Nomad crashes. All the AI simulants cheer. The end. As tired as the plot and themes are, it was actually nice to see an original film IP that isn't a remake or a sequel. It's just a shame that it was a brain-dead plot. This could have been a good film with a tighter script and less political bollocks weighing it down. Please, Gareth Edwards, let someone else write the next one. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.